You're looking at 3,740 feet of straightaway at the Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. It's lunchtime at Pocono, and that means it's time for a 90-minute practice for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series teams and drivers on this 2.5-mile super speedway, which presents some very unique challenges. But the weather does not. Temperature topping out today around 80. 10% chance of rain, so we expect a nice summer afternoon here in Pennsylvania. And hi, everybody. Steve Burns alongside Larry McReynolds and Jeff Hammond. And Jeff, I would be hard-pressed to find another racetrack that is shaped like a triangle like Pocono is.
You're right, especially the size right there. You talking about challenges, folks. I mean, this place right here, I think it offers up everything that just about you could imagine as far as a race car driver is concerned. Steve's already alluded to it. You saw the front straightaway for 3,700 foot that goes down into turn 1, which is 14 degrees, which we go down another straightaway, 3,000 foot down that back straightaway there. Also into turn 2, 8 degrees, and keeps getting less as we go along. We got a little short chute, 6 degrees into turn 3, and then back out on the front straightaway. So what does this mean? It means you got to be on your game when you run this place, because you're going so fast into one, not a lot of banking to catch you there. Then all of a sudden you hit that tunnel turn, and everybody talks about that being probably the most challenging turn in racing as far as a lot of these race car drivers are concerned. So when you show up at Pocono, there's no place to really practice. You can go to all the simulations you want to. Pocono is unique, and it's going to be difficult.
Larry Mack, 40 of 64 races have been won from, now I usually say the top 10, the top 5. And I think that speaks a lot to performance.
Well, and just to expand on that, you look at the last 9 races, 6 of those winners came from the front row. And I think that what that just goes to show you, when you hit on something here that makes you fast in qualifying, that you're able to be fast in the race. Now, one thing that I think is going to change that complexity just a little bit, Jeff talked about how long these straightaways are. Talking to some of the crew chiefs, they may work on things. Remember, this is the first time we've run this rear spoiler here. That rear spoiler puts a lot of aero drag in the car. Really hurts the straightaway speed. I think for qualifying, when you've got 4 fresh Goodyear tires on there with a lot of grip, you may see teams work on things to reduce the drag for qualifying, but I guarantee you tomorrow we have those practices getting ready to race, they'll be trying to put all the downforce back in it. And speaking of qualifying, it looks like we may actually qualify for the first time here since July of 2008. Both sessions last year were actually rained out.
Well, that guy right there, the 2-car, driven by Kurt Busch, he is the hottest driver in the sport, Matt Yoakum. He won the All-Star race and backed it up with the 600.
Steve, he had an impressive month of May in Charlotte, 2-week stretch. Very stellar, and he has the big deposit slip to prove it. He comes into Pocono, a place where he's run very well and impressive in the past. 6 times he has finished either first or second, but hasn't had a top 5 here in over 3 years. Their game plan is simple. Weather's a concern for Saturday's practice sessions. They're going to try to work primarily on their race setup during this session, and then near the end swap over to qualifying setup if they have time. But the biggest thing that he and Steve Addington want to work on over the next 6 weeks before the next break is consistency. That's something they haven't had. They've been hot and cold over the past 2.5 months. So that's their biggest goal for the summer. To Ralph Shaheen.
You know, Matt, the one thing Tony Stewart's looking for more than anything when he comes here to Pocono this week, momentum. It's the one thing he's really lacking right now. He's a defending race winner here of the June race at Pocono. He's hoping that maybe this can be the race weekend that kickstarts his push to get into the chase and get a solid run at maybe a 3rd championship. So they're going to do the same thing just like your driver, Matt. They're going to focus on race setup during this practice session, not really going to worry about qualifying at all. The only other thing they want to do, Steve Burns, is make sure their driver wakes up. A little sleepy this morning.
Yeah, you know, Ralph, he has indeed been in a bit of a slump, and we had him on NASCAR Race Hub a couple weeks ago, and he said, if I could put my finger on it, if I could turn it around, I would.
Well, Tony's going to be on our trackside show tonight, and the thing that I want to ask him about is, you remember, he was the points leader at this point. Ralph talked about him winning this race. He was also the points leader. He has scored 333 fewer points at this point this year than he did last year. But here's my point. I keep going back to that rear spoiler versus the wing. The first 5 races of this year, he had 3 top 10s, including a 2nd place finish at Bristol. The last 8 races with the rear spoiler, one top 10 finish, and that was barely a top 10, 9th at Dover.
I'm so impressed with our broadcasting cross-promotion skills. I got a race up mention in there. We got a trackside. How about a NASCAR performance?
We will be doing plenty of NASCAR performance, and we'll be talking about all the mechanical woes you can face here at Pocono.
And there are a lot of them. Like Jeff Hammond said, this is a very demanding, very unique racetrack.
And we're taking a look at Darian Grubb up there on top of that 14 hauler, watching the progress of Tony Stewart as he gets ready to come off of that final turn. Turn 3, if you'd like to call it. A lot of people get confused. We always want to say it's turn 4, but here it's actually turn 3.
A lot of people talking about Jimmy Johnson and that 4018. Jeff, Larry, wanting to get your thoughts. He had a rough outing again at the Coca-Cola 600. Are they in a slump, or do you think they started off so well that perhaps they're experimenting with some things? What do you think, Jeff?
I think it could go a lot of different ways. And we know that Chad Knaus, we just listened there a moment ago talking to his driver, that these guys are not afraid to experiment. I mean, they came out of the box so strong that, you know, he's kind of like, why not try to get better and think about the end of the year? Then they come with what already Larry's talked about, the new spoiler that has changed the balance of the race cars. But, you know, to say they're in a slump by their standards, yes, that they're not as good as they have been in the past. But I wouldn't worry about it. It's not time to push the panic button. Yeah, they had an off night. But after 4 years of perfection, every now and then you're going to have a little bit of trouble. And I think what's so cool about these guys, I ain't heard anybody over there yet throw their hand up. So, oh my gosh, we're in trouble. And when you do, that's when you got to worry about this bunch. I think they're going to be fine. They'll be around when we get to the final 10. And just how good are they going to be? We won't know till we get there.
I believe they're laying in the weeds. I guarantee if you're going to win this championship, that's the catch you're going to have to beat right there.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Early look at the quickest top 10 here at the Pocono Raceway. Stay with us here on Speed. Robbie Gordon usually aboard that 7 car to the high side of the racetrack. Veteran Ted Musgrave filling in while Robbie is in Baja. Let's go to Ralph Shaheen.
Steve, he went to Baja for the Baja 500. He's actually in Ensenada, Mexico. It's a loop race this year. He's going to be down there racing Saturday, so that means Ted Musgrave will be in the car for both practice and qualifying today and practice tomorrow. Robbie will return Sunday morning and climb back aboard the number 7 and go racing here in Pocono. Of course, the big key for him in Baja is, like I said, he is a defending race winner, so he wants to make sure he stays there to get that race victory again.
And the thing about Musgrave being in that car, Jeff, he's got a familiar voice he's going to be working with, because Gene Need, who did some consulting with this team earlier in the year, was with Randy Moss Motorsports. He's actually left Randy Moss Motorsports and over there full time with Robbie Gordon in the 7 group now. And I think Gene and Ted worked together in the truck series.
Yes, they did. And again, this is a good racetrack for Ted Musgrave. He is very, you know, experienced here. He's usually run well. And I think it's a pretty darn good choice for Robbie to bring him up here to let him try to get the 7 car, you know, dialed in for him.
Guys, looking at the speed chart early, we have 5 Chevrolets. The quickest led by Clint Boyer in the 33, then Ryan Newman, Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, and Jamie McMurray.
Guys, what has happened to Ryan Newman? I mean, come out of the box early this year, and we were kind of like wondering, boy, last year must have been kind of like a fluke. And all of a sudden, they've gotten on fire again. He and Tony Gibson, I mean, they look like they've got a pretty good combination going for that Stewart-Haas number 39.
Matt Kenseth in the 17 car. And right now, his quickest lap, good enough just for 36.
Let's ride around this track following this 17 car. Jeff talked about the banking and straightaways. Right here, you're running at 200 miles an hour. And, I mean, you are on the brake hard. And if you notice, Matt moved up the racetrack a little bit, but just watch the car, how much that car's moving around. It's very, very bumpy down there in turn 1, and guys will move around to try to get out of the bumps. But this corner coming up right here, the tunnel turn 2, a lot of drivers say this is the toughest corner in all of NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, because if you see that big white thing to the inside, that's a big curve. And if you clip that curve, it shoots you against that outside wall. And then this is the short shoot Jeff was talking about. And then right here, turn 3. This corner goes forever and ever and ever. And you can see it's flat, but look how far he's up the racetrack. And the reason, a few years ago, they had to do some patchwork up there, and they said, no big deal. It's way up out of the groove. The minute the cars started practicing, they went straight to that
Yep,
new
they
asphalt
did.
because there's a
They
lot
did.
of grip right there.
And as Jeff pointed out at the top of the show, just 8 degrees of banking in the tunnel turn, even less in that turn 3, 6 degrees.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest challenges. Like I say, you want to hustle around this racetrack, and you've got no way to keep hustling. You've got to be very, I think, disciplined of knowing that once you get through turn 1, you're going to start losing banking. So you just can't keep charging these corners. I mean, you've got to be able to be disciplined enough to back off, get that car in there, get it set, and really run it from the center of these corners out to make up a lot of ground. And I think Matt Kenseth, has got a lot of finesse and usually has a good feel for a good racetrack like here at Pocono. And the other thing is, guys, he's one of only 4 drivers that have been in the top 12 in the, as far as the points for the entire 2010 season.
Well, from Matt Kenseth to Matt Yoakum, what's going on with the points leader, Matt?
Well, he's pulled his car back in the garage, Steve. He's got the window net back up. They've made some small adjustments in the front of the machine. He's backing out to go back on the racetrack. And when you look at the stretch leading into Pocono, the 2 races in Charlotte, the race at Dover before, places, and including Pocono, places where Kevin Harvick doesn't actually turn out to have impressive runs. In fact, he's never led a lap here at Pocono, but he's finished 11th or better the past 3 weeks. Coming into here, he says the car is good, wants to work a little bit on the tightness in the center of the corner, but he says we feel like the brakes are great. We should have a good weekend. At least it appears the way at this juncture, Ralph.
Well, Matt, they have flip-flop crew chiefs on the Red Bull Toyotas. That's Jimmy Elledge leaning in the window of car number 83, talking to Casey Mears. Jimmy is now crew chiefing over here. He was working with Scott Speed. 4 garage stalls down is where you will find Scott Speed's number 82. And over there, you will now find Ryan Pemberton, who used to be the man who would have been talking to Casey Mears just a week ago.
And, guys, Red Bull Racing, they had to try something. As I said a couple of weeks ago, even if they just painted the cars different, they needed to do something. And, of course, as Ralph just pointed out, they swapped the crew chiefs and some key people. And the biggest thing that I think added to the story is how well the other Toyota teams are running right now. Michael Waltrip Racing and Joe Gibbs Racing. And these guys right here, they were 29th and 30th at Charlotte Motor Speedway last week, 4 and 5 laps down.
Not very good. They got room for improvement, Larry.
We're 14 minutes into a 90-minute practice. Speaking of Michael Waltrip Racing, David Rudiman down in through turn 1. Stay with us here at Pocono. We'll be right back. We've got NASCAR all over the map. Take a look at our Gillette menu. 3 o'clock NASCAR Live Sprint Cup qualifying from here at Pocono. Trackside, Tony Stewart and Juan Pablo Montoya. Both of those guys, always a lot of fun. And then Chris Devoto with the setup at the Texas Motor Speedway for the Camping World Truck Series, 8:30 Eastern here on Speed. And, of course, the nationwide teams down in Nashville, Tennessee.
How about the pole sitter for that truck race in Texas, Austin Dillon, that 3 truck?
Richard Childress' grandson.
You thinking Richard may be down in Texas?
If he wasn't, he may be there now.
Exactly right.
Hot down in Texas, 95 degrees today. Make that track even slicker.
Pretty warm up here.
Yeah, it is.
Saw Jeff Gordon's stats there, and to add to those stats, you saw the 16 top 5s, 24 top 10s, and he has led 879 laps here. Right now, he's 3rd quickest. He's run a total of 8 laps.
6 of his last 7 races, top 10s here at Pocono.
Won the race here about 3 years ago. I think it was the June race of 2007. Steve Letarte really pulled a masterful job with some strategy, knowing the rain was moving in, and never subsided, and he went to victory lane.
Back to the garage, and Matt.
Steve, I don't know of any driver who is happy to see the month of May get behind us faster than Jimmy Johnson. Failed to finish 2 of the last 4 races in May. Coming to a place where he swept back in 2004. Currently 4th on the board. The car pretty good. Free down in turn 1. He says it's very comfortable down in the tunnel turn. A little free when he tries to hustle it off turn 3. But otherwise, the car pretty decent here for the 48.
Just a little stat on this 48 car that Russell just handed me, our statistician. Jimmy Johnson has fallen from 1st to 7th in the points in the last 5 races. And our points leader, Kevin Harvick, the 29 team, has outscored that 48 car in those 5 races by 345 points.
Well, to Matt Yoakum's point about Kevin Harvick, you know, Kevin said after Dover he finished 7th, the encouraging thing to him, they're running better at tracks where they traditionally don't run that well.
And that's the thing about them. Whenever you see these teams and trying to figure out, you know, who's doing what and where, how do you really judge them? The total work,
right.
Or, you know, are they working in areas and improving those areas where they struggled in the past? And it's a very confusing year. This has been probably one of the hardest years so far to figure out who is doing what and why. I mean, keep talking about Jimmy Johnson. When you think about, you know, a year ago he had a 108-point lead after the 8th race in Texas. Now he's 7th, which it means that's a 312-point swing in a year's time. I mean, so there's a guy right there I think could challenge him before it's all said and done. The 31 car, Jeff Burton. He was a little bit hot in the collar after the race, but you know, I think that the turn of events, I think things have probably calmed down a little bit, at least on Jeff Burton's side. But boy, he was about as mad as I ever seen, Mr. Burton, at this young man right here in the 18 car. And Larry, we've been talking about it. I can't really fault the 18 for that one right there. It was time to go, and I know he didn't really mean to get into Burton, and he just barely touched him with the splitter. Never put a mark on the car otherwise, but boy, after 600 miles, I mean, Mr. Burton was a little bit upset.
2 things that I was happy to see, which says a lot about where our sport's at in 2010. A, Jeff Burton really mad and upset and showing emotion. Secondly, this guy right here wasn't interested in a nice points night. He wanted to win that race. And I love that about what's going on in our sport right now is the emotions, the people showing their feelings, and people that's not just looking for a good points night. They want to win the race.
Well, speaking of Kyle, as Michael Waltrip says, you can't beat the Bushes. The Bush brothers have won the last 6 NASCAR races between trucks, Nationwide, and Cup. It's either been Kyle or Kurt.
Oh, they've been on a roll. And going back to what Larry's saying, I talked to Todd Berry about, you know, the circumstances of the night. He said, you know what? He said, I was really proud of my driver. You know, he may have been a little bit wrong, but he said, I'm glad that it mattered to him.
Well,
that's what it was all about, like Larry's saying. It mattered to him because he wanted to win just as bad as Kyle did. He may have been just a half a second late of wanting to go when Kyle wanted him to, and they got together, but those 2 guys showed a lot of passion.
Well, I followed him back to the transporter.
Yeah. Was that a good move?
I was about 3 feet behind him, and he turned around. I said, "You all right?" He goes, "Oh, I'm ready to talk." Oh, David Reagan in the 6 car. Has he made contact with the wall? Let's take a look.
Oh, he got up out of that groove. He got up out of the groove, Larry.
Boom. Yeah, he got up there where there is absolutely no grip at all. There's good grip on that fresh patch of asphalt I talked about. You get above that, uh-oh.
I don't think he heard anything. Just kind of got his attention.
All Chevrolets in the top 5. We'll be right back. Tonight on Speed, everyone's fired up as NASCAR is in Pocono, and we're there as Tony Stewart and Juan Pablo Montoya stop by for the ultimate Friday night house party. Don't miss NASCAR Trackside tonight at 6:30 Eastern, only on Speed. And you see Juan Pablo right now, 7th quick overall. Let's go to Ralph Shaheen in the garage.
Well, Clint Boyer's a little frustrated because Mercury's going out of business. He's the owner of a proud lead sled 49 Merc, I know, but your race car is very fast. You're already switching over to qualifying trim because your race setup's so good?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Cheerios Hamburger Helper Chevrolet was really fast right off the truck. Car handled good. We were in, 4 or 5 laps there, and, saw where it was going to trend, and we need to switch to qualifying trim. We don't have a pole as close as we are. You got to take a shot at it. So we're going to switch over a little bit early, make sure we put an extra emphasis on try to set on the pole. You never know. Everybody's going to be fast when I switch over qualifying trim. There's always surprises, but we're going to give it a try.
All right, well, thanks for taking the time to talk with us. He's got to go get in the car. They're going to try to make use of this time now. This is the first driver we've come across in this session, Steve, who's so good, so confident in race setup, he's going to worry about qualifying.
Yeah, Ralph, that's pretty early. We're just 24 minutes into this practice, and Joey Logano's hooked up pretty now in that Home Depot Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing, 12th right now.
You know what's hard to believe, we were talking about the points a little earlier, and we're halfway through the race to the chase. 13 down and 13 to go. And you look at Joey Logano in his 20 car after finishing 13th last week at Charlotte. He's 18th in the points. So position-wise, he's a long way out of the top 12, but that's only 86 points out of the top 12. I think right now, this is probably the closest that we've had in a long time as far as from about 8th to about 18th or 19th.
As we watch a guy like Joey Logano, Larry, this is one of those racetracks he's got to show some improvement in. It didn't help him at all last year outside the top 12. And as you come in here trying to gain some a little bit more momentum and get up there into that top 12, you've got to get by tracks like this. And we talk about the difficulty of this particular racetrack. If he has an Achilles heel, in my opinion, it's the road racing. And this racetrack incorporates some techniques that road racers seem to excel on. So, again, a good tune-up for upcoming in 2 weeks when we got to go to Infineon out there. So if he can get nailed Pocono, he could look for a good result out there.
He's 27 and 23rd here 1 year ago.
That's right. So you got to do better.
What's a little deceiving, though, about that 27th is it's like I preach to Brandon all the time. The box score is what's counted. It doesn't matter if you led 3/4 of the race, what they're going to pick up and look at the newspaper. But when he finished 27th in August, he was actually running in the top 10 with about 25 or 30 laps to go and cut a left rear tire down and then got caught up in a wreck. So he improved a lot from the June race to the August race. Obviously, the finishing results don't reflect it.
See Denny Hamlin heading to the garage. 3 times he's been a winner here, and Matt has an update on Kurt Busch.
And Kurt just pulled the Blue Deuce back into the garage area. He said, in general, the car's still a little too free on exit. But, being a great teammate to the newcomer on the Penske Racing team, that's Brad Keselowski, who's never competed here. He gave him some really good insight before practice. And then he came on the radio and he said to tell Brad that you can actually drive deeper into the corner due to the spoiler versus what the wing used to give, the feeling and sensation. So that way, just try to pass along information to help him early on in this practice session. Brad says his car was too free. They made an adjustment, then made it too tight. Ralph?
Matt, the flip side of the story with the 33 of Clint Boyer is the 99 of Carl Edwards. Clint is so comfortable with his race setup, he's already going to qualifying trim. Well, Carl Edwards just told me we're not really sure where we're going. In fact, they've been experimenting with setups, which when you hear the word experimenting, that tends to tell you they're searching pretty hard to try to figure out which is the right direction to go. So they're still working on race setup because they're afraid the weather is going to take away some time from them tomorrow.
I want to go back. That was interesting what Matt Yoakum talked about Kurt Busch's 2-car, and it kind of goes back to what I said at the top of the show. When we went from the wing to that rear spoiler, it put more downforce in the car. Now, it actually, even though it was something that was added to the rear of the car, it actually added more front downforce, more front pressure on the tires than even it did at the rear. But it actually has added a lot of aero drag. It's hurt the straightaway speed. So I would say if you had a radar gun at a part of the racetrack before you get to turn 1 a year ago, they'd be a little slower now. Plus, when you roll out of the throttle, the car slows down more. That's why Kurt's saying you can drive it in deeper and you can use more brake than you could with your wing. But if Keselowski never drove the wing here, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, he didn't really know what he's talking about right there. We're taking a look at one of the guys that's just recently got knocked out of the top 12. And currently, Martin Truex Jr. is 40th in this practice session. I talked to his crew chief, Pat Tryson, and he felt like that, and Larry, you mentioned it, the horsepower situation, that they may be just off a little bit in that area. I said, where are you lacking it right now, Pat? What do you need to do? You get your driver fired up, you need to work on your cars a bit. He said, it's a little bit all the way across. He said, I'd like to have a little bit more power. My driver's doing a great job, even though he's the most laid-back driver I've ever worked with. He said, I really feel like we just get a little bit more under the hood. We'll tune on our chassis a little bit. We can get back up there inside that top 12 with the 56 car.
Still Chevrolets leading the way here in practice. 5 of the top 5. Boyer, Newman, Gordon, Johnson, and McMurray. Talked about Carl Edwards a minute ago. There he is on the racetrack, and talked about how that team is looking for speed. All the Roush Fenway cars are. 12th overall, Edwards is right now.
Steve, the report we just got from the garage, I can understand what these guys are maybe kind of...
Walk up to you after this. 10-4.
listen to some of the communication between Carl and Bob Osborne right there on the racetrack. But there is a possibility of thunder showers, and this racetrack does not drive very quick. So for that reason, we don't have lights here also. So for that reason, to see these guys trying to stay in race setup and make sure this car is where they have a direction to go into tomorrow in case the weather does, you know, turn bad and one of the practices either abbreviated or doesn't happen, I can see them, you know, kind of like making this plan and making it work this way, because these guys have struggled in race trim more so than qualifying.
Bring it on in, bud. Bring it on in. Now, that's not the
Bob
same number of
Osborne
laps
says to bring it on
tires
in. We
as
go
the
to Ralph
48.
Shaheen.
You know, Steve, saying that your car is like a tank can be okay in some situations when you're talking about a NASCAR Sprint Cup machine. It's sturdy enough, it protects you like a tank, but when the rear end sits down on the track and it pushes like a tank, that's not a good thing. That's the problem Juan Pablo Montoya is having with his number 42 machine right now. Crew working on that. Juan over here taking a look at the sheets. He's talking to Brian Patty, his crew chief, and he's going to be getting back in the car, see if they can get rid of the elite part of the tank problem.
And Ralph, they're in a little bit of a danger zone right now as far as the points are concerned. Another bad night at the 600, and they're going to have to get going.
Yeah, they've lost over 100 points in the last 2 races. They coming into Dover. Prior to that race, they were only 50 points out of the top 12. Now all of a sudden they find themselves like 179, 176,
176,
176 out of that in 20 position. But the good news is these guys made a great charge mid-season to get in the chase last year, so they know how to do it. And just don't forget, Matt Kenseth did rally back from like 292 one time to make the chase. So it can be done if they can just get back on focus. And Larry, you've talked about it. They have a fast race car.
Every single week. They're feast or famine, though, Jeff. You talk about 13 races, 4 top 5s and 6 top 10s, but including the accident in Charlotte the other night, 4 DNFs.
That's a killer.
They've got the better of the problem to have. They just need to figure out how to close the deal and finish races.
Speaking of which, Marcus Ambrose, the last 3 races, he needs to hit the reset button. 2 finishes of 36th. The other race, he was 25th.
And you know, we talked about this a few weeks ago. I know they had a big team meeting with Frankie Kerr and Marcos Ambrose, and they felt like we're maybe trying too hard. Right? Maybe we've set our expectations too high. And actually, right after that, they started showing a little glimmer of hope. But yeah, it's been a little dismal for this 47 team here of late.
I never would have expected that. As good as they were a year ago and the promise that they were showing, it looked like they were getting ready to make a breakthrough season this year. Currently is 18th during his practice session. And this should be a good racetrack.
Should be, because he's great on the road courses.
He's great on the road courses. So again, we talk about being a discipline and having to be able to finesse and adapt to the different banking configurations here at Pocono. You would think Marcos Ambrose would be at the top of the list.
Well, he did finish 6th there in this race a year ago. So yeah, I think if they can put all the issues and problems behind them, I think you'll have a good day on Sunday.
Kyle Busch is the quickest Toyota. He's 6th overall. Dave Blaney 10th. Joey Logano 11th. Denny Hamlin 13th. And Ambrose 18th. Paul Menard in the 98.
Now, he's one of 3 drivers that will be doing the double duty between here and Nashville. Right now, Paul is 29th quickest in this 98 car, but Carl Edwards, Paul Menard, and Brad Keselowski will be going back and forth. Paul is actually sitting 6th in the Nationwide Series points. Now, we have another driver here that's doing double duty, if you can believe this. Jimmy Johnson is going to be going back and forth between the Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series at Watkins Glen. His 2nd start of the year in that series, he did run in the 24-hour race at Daytona in February.
Kind of surprised him doing that, but you know how race car drivers are. They love to get behind the wheel of something a little bit unique every now and then. And that series he's running in there, they definitely got some really trick cars.
Have we mentioned that that's going to be on Speed tomorrow at 2 o'clock?
You did now.
Yeah, you have
right.
now.
I think you just promoted.
He's going to co-drive with Alex Gurney and John Fogerty. 2 p.m. Speed tomorrow. Sprint brings you an inside look at what's happening now inside the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. For more NASCAR stats in-car audio and live race radio, check out NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile at sprint.com/speed.
They have starts too, so you got that covered.
They do.
That's it.
And I could have just let that go.
I know, but I
had to correct.
I know you did well.
Yeah.
You're a trained professional.
See, speaking of professionals, Kevin Harvick, 17th overall. He's completed 9 laps in this practice.
And we keep talking about it. This has not been a really favorable track for Kevin. So if honestly, I'd be want to bet you right now if you said Kevin Harvick.
Center decision, touch the gas to keep chattering. That was worse in 1 and was no better in 3. Simple.
Sounds like they're working on the front end, trying to make the front end turn through the corner. Now it's got it chattering it. So as I was going to say, if he could get a top 10 finish out of here on Sunday, I bet you would be all smiles.
Casey Kane, second quick of the Fords, right behind Elliott Sadler.
Casey has a couple of poles here and a win. He's also the track record holder. He did that back in his rookie season, June of 2004, at a 52.16. I know normally you pick up a lot here from practice to qualifying, but what I'm seeing right now, I'd say that track record will probably stay pretty solid.
Ralph, what's going on with Martin Truex Jr. in that 56 bunch?
Well, they're struggling a little bit with the setup on this race car. I just had a chance to speak with Martin. They picked up some speed the last go around, but it's still not where they want. They're still looking for a couple of more tenths. You might remember, Steve, they weren't too good at Charlotte with this car during the 600. He said that all 3 corners around this racetrack, they're not comfortable on yet where they need to be. But Matt, the one thing is, he's wearing a Philadelphia Flyers hat. They're playing pretty good. He's going back to Philly tonight for Game 4 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. He says he's been to the 2 games now in Philly, and both times the time he went, they won. So maybe tonight will bring him good luck again.
Steve, I got a question for you. Does the hockey season ever end? Do they just end the playoffs and start their next season the next week?
But Larry, we could say the same thing about our season.
But we do.
We start in February and we finish at Thanksgiving.
Okay. We never really finish.
Right. Matt Yoakum.
And down in the 24 garage, Steve, the Chevrolet is up on jack stands. Now, right before they pulled it back in the garage, Steve Letarte told Jeff that was a great lap, and Jeff responded, yep, and I almost wrecked going into turn 1. He said, I drove it down into turn 1. The previous lap, it was loose. Then the last lap, I drove it down in deeper and almost lost the car. Also, he didn't quite get the feeling off of turn 3 that he was hoping for with the most recent change. Now they're swapping over to qualifying trim, and right next door is the 11 car of Denny Hamlin. He's back in. He says the car is tight in the center of turn 1. Late exit, not bad. A little free down in the tall turn. And the entry into turn 3, good, but it could be tighter off of 3. So they're looking at what other changes to make. He and Mike Ford talking right now. You can see Denny using his hands, just explaining more and more about the bumps here at Pocono.
You know, one thing I noticed that Steve Letarte is doing to that 24 car is they move from race trim to qualifying trim. You can see him working with the front springs. One thing you have to do here for qualifying is you have to do things to keep it up off the ground, because Jeff's going to drive that car much deeper into the corner. They're going to put the tape on the nose. It's going to make it travel more and more downforce. And the worst thing in the world that will destroy your lap here will be getting into those bumps in turn 1 and the car bottoming out.
About halfway through this practice, stay with us here on Speed from Pocono. Tonight, the world's toughest trucks stampede into Texas for a showdown in the Lone Star State. Don't miss the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series live from Texas tonight at 8:30 Eastern, only on Speed. Temperatures in the mid-90s down in Fort Worth.
Cook an egg on the asphalt down there in Texas right now.
Careful how you say that. Never mind. Dale Earnhardt Jr., 19th overall, 13 laps of practice.
He's bad as Darrell Walter.
This is another car that regardless of where he's at in the points, regardless of how many points out of the top 12, that I would certainly question, are they going to be able to get things straightened out to make the chase? Yeah, he's 17th in the points, only 54 points out of the top 12. But the performance finished 22nd at Charlotte last week. And, you know, I just think unlike last year, we've talked about Montoya. He really, in those first 26 races, he didn't hardly even have any top 5 finishes, but he was finishing races. And I'm just not sure with the Childress car stepping it up this year and a lot of other people stepping it up. I'm not sure just finishing races is going to get you in the chase in 2010.
So we've talked about that since the chase format came into being back in 2004. When you're outside that top 12, you're not only racing guys on the racetrack, you've got to beat guys who are already in the top 12, and that's not easy to do.
No, it's not. But at the same time, when you think about somebody like Dale Earnhardt Jr., you think, well, why can't he not do that? I mean, because, again, he's finished second here at Pocono twice. And look at this guy here, Mark Martin. Guys, I was doing some studying the other night. Out of a lot of the drivers that have raced here, he has led more than 400 laps here at Pocono out of 10 other drivers, including Jeff Gordon and Jeffrey Bodine and Darrell Waltrip, Richard Petty. But what I find interesting about Mark Martin, out of the 46 starts he's got here, he's finished on the lead lap 38 times. I mean, that's impressive to be able to think you come up here 46 times and can finish on the lead lap. He's got the highest finishing average besides Jimmy Johnson of anybody right now currently racing.
He's done everything but win here.
Everything but win here. I mean, that's what's so amazing is how many times he's finished second and the number of lead lap times he's been here. I mean, it's a good racetrack for Mark Martin.
6 times he's finished second.
He's run a total of 14 laps. Right now, he's 14th quickest in this 5 car. Now, this was the last time through turn 3. You can see he's up there on that somewhat fresh asphalt. He got out of it right there late exit, and you could tell he really had to yank it off the wall because the car was almost in a 4-wheel slide toward the wall.
With just 6 degrees of banking, we talk about the law of physics taking over at some point.
And Steve, honestly, coming off that 6 degrees of banking, I think it gets flatter as you get further out on that straightaway.
Almost like it's falling over.
It is, exactly.
Take a look at Jamie's finishes over the last 3 races. At Dover, he and his teammate Juan Pablo Montoya, I think they had broken track bar mounts. Same exact problem.
Yep, within about 3 laps of each other on top of all of that. But saw Jamie down in the garage area this morning. He was doing something, guys, you never see Jamie McMurray do. You remember how big a health nut he is?
Yeah.
Eating healthy. He actually ate a hot dog.
Wonder if he had any birthday cake.
I don't know. I don't remember what he's trying to do is trying to overcome that birthday cake.
Maybe.
But he was walking on cloud 9 right now because that team has been on the roll here lately.
You know, the biggest thing I think that has helped Jamie McMurray is he feels like when he walks in that shop at Ganassi Racing or he walks in this racetrack, he's got a race team that is behind him. And I just don't know that he ever had that at Roush Fenway. And we've talked to Jamie on trackside and all enough. If he feels like you're behind him, he will perform. If he feels like you're not, he does not perform. He's very easily motivated by the support of his race team.
Or through the tunnel and come in, please.
Montoya's 7th quickest. He's run a total of 9 laps. So both those Earnhardt Ganassi cars up there in the top 7.
Like you said, Larry, they've got speed. They just got to go and close the deal.
Stay with us here at Pocono Raceway. We're on speed. Glad you're with us. Tomorrow, the Rolex Sports Car Series screams into Watkins Glen, where 4-time NASCAR champion Jimmy Johnson will join the Gainesco 99 team for his first 6 hours at the Glen. Don't miss the Rolex Sports Car Series from Watkins Glen tomorrow, live 2 Eastern, only on Speed. And with that, we go to Ralph Shaheen.
I just talked to David Rudiman. They're switching the 00 over from race trim to qualifying trim. Now, he's not as good as Clint Boyer was, but he told me the car starts off a little bit slow, gets better during the run, and then it stays there. It's pretty consistent throughout the course of the run. So they feel that they've kind of reached a point where now it's time to switch over to the qualifying trim, see what they can get out of that.
You know, Jeff, you were talking earlier about Joey Logano in that 20 car. Possibly those 2 road courses could be the Achilles heel for him. I look at David Rudiman. I know that's on their mind right now. I talked to Rodney Childress the other night. Actually, they sent David Rudiman out to Infineon for 2 days of testing, obviously in a non-NASCAR Sprint Cup Series car, plus they've been to VIR, a road course up in Virginia, already twice, just trying to improve their road course program.
You know, and if there was any disservice that's ever occurred over at Michael Waltrip Racing, was those times when Michael and those guys elected to take David out of the car and put a road race ace in there for, you know, performance reasons, you know, which you can understand. But now all of a sudden, you know, David's been able to run and be competitive and challenge for a top 12, you know, in the chase, and he's got to, you know, get by those road course races at Infineon as well as Watkins Glen. So it's a big challenge for him.
Denny Hamlin won twice here in 2006, and then last summer won here again, led 91 laps.
Yeah, if there's a new king of Pocono, he'd have to be Denny Hamlin, because he came in here and pretty much lit this place on fire.
And that's the same car you're looking at right there that he's won 2 of his 3 races this year. He won at Martinsville and Darlington in this 11 car they elected to bring here.
He's 13th overall. 3rd quick of the Toyotas. Kyle Busch still the quickest. Take that back, 4th. Kyle Busch the quickest. Then Dave Blaney in the 66. Joey Logano in the 20. Hamlin 13th, 4th quickest of the Toyotas.
And Larry, does it surprise you that they elected to bring a car that you'd race at Martinsville and then again at a place like Darlington? Not a lot of banking at either one of those racetracks.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a car that they feel like they have a good balance, they have a good handle on. The biggest thing I think these guys have to work with today, because the aerodynamics are so much equal between car to car to car, is making sure they've worked out the travel of the car, how much the car will travel, especially working with the front bump stops and things of that nature. But you know, Jeff and I were looking a while ago at the scoring monitor at guys that's never raced here, like Max Pappas, Brad Keselowski, and they're way down the scoring monitor. You're looking at a guy, the first time he saw this place in 2006, he rolled into victory lane in June of that year.
He adapted and overcame real quick.
Led 151 of 200 laps the 2nd race that year. There's David Stremme in the 26. Stremme in a Ford, 35th overall. David with just 3 laps of practice.
This was one of the teams that did not qualify at Charlotte last week. Missed the Coke 600.
And they'll have to find some speed today.
Now, right now, of our go or go home guys, Dave Blaney in the 66 car is the quickest. We will be sending 2 cars home. There you see Dave in that 66 car. Always figures out how to reach down in that qualifying barrel and cut a fast lap no matter where we're at.
Yes, he does.
Still Chevrolets leading the way. Quickest 5, all Chevys. Tony Stewart also in a Chevrolet, but not among those top 5. In fact, Jeff, Stewart just 30th overall with 14 laps of practice.
Again, if I had to be guessing right now, I think Tony Stewart, he and Darian Grubb, they're working on a balance for this number 14 car, because they've got a pole position. What they've got to do is get back to where they can be competitive during the course of the race. So I'm not too sure that it's really high on his wish list right now to really worry about going fast as much as getting this car where at the end of a longer run he's got a car that he can move up through the field.
How about last year? 1 year ago he sat on the pole. Well, of course it was rained out. Crashed going down the back stretch, tore the splitter off going through the grass, started in the back but still won the race.
And that, even though he had won the Sprint All-Star race, that was absolutely the first points win for Stewart-Haas Racing last year. Back to our go or go homers, I talked about Dave Blaney being the quickest. Now this, of course, is not qualifying. This is practice. But the 2 cars that would be in trouble as we speak would be Chad McCumbee in that 64 car and then Ted Musgrave in the 7 car. The 7 car got bumped out of the top 35 after last week at Charlotte. 37 car, David Gilliland, bumped in the top 35.
Ralph, what's going on with Smoke?
Well, the last thing Tony said is he just doesn't feel like the right rear tire is planted to this Pocono racetrack.
That's not a good feeling right there, guys.
Not with the speeds that you enter these corners. And honestly, you take like the tunnel turn where he's at right now, or he's actually going into turn 3, the speed you carry through there, you better have all 4 of those tires gripping the racetrack.
About 30 minutes left in this practice. Tony Stewart heads to the garage. We'll head to break. See the Chevrolets, bow tie brigade up front. Be right back. Sunday, NASCAR race day hours into Pocono. We'll talk to Kurt Busch and his crew chief Steve Addington live. Plus, halfway to the chase, we'll tell you which 12 drivers will battle for the championship. NASCAR race day built by the Home Depot, live from Pocono Sunday at 10 here on Speed. Dale Earnhardt Jr., 19th overall, and Matt has an update on Kyle Busch.
And Steve, a lot of different agendas up and down the line here in the garage area, and Kyle Busch has climbed back in the 18 car. It's up on scales. So what's the game plan right now for the rest of practice, Kyle?
Qualifying trim now. You know, we're up on the speed charts, and the car is not that comfortable. So we'll see if we can't make it a little bit better here. The pretzel car it's good, but we need a little more comfort out of it so we can get the throttle down.
How different is it with the spoiler versus the wing here?
Well, now that you mention it, it's not that much different from what I'm fighting, so kind of the same.
And Kyle Busch, typically he runs anything he can, whether it's in the trucks or nationwide. This weekend, concentrating solely on the Sprint Cup program. Brad Coleman driving the nationwide car in Nashville, and Johnny Benson, former Truck Series champ, driving his truck in Texas tonight.
Biggest thing for Kyle Busch, this is a milestone weekend for him. This is his 200th career Sprint Cup Series start. He now becomes the youngest driver in series history to reach that 200 mark at 25 years, 1 month, and 4 days.
He's a wheel man for sure, but we talk about guys who like this racetrack and people who have struggled at this racetrack, and when you look at the last 5 races here at Pocono for Kyle Busch, he's got no top 10 finishes, and I think there's another good reason why he's elected maybe to try to stay focused here at Pocono this weekend rather than trying to run back and forth and maybe get this 18 car, because we know that Joe Gibbs has got a good package for here because Denny Hamlin's record proves that out.
Yeah, I go back 2 years ago. Even though he was only 23 years old, I really questioned what Kyle Busch attempted to do. He was going back and forth between here in Texas for the truck race and then here in Nashville for the Nationwide Series race.
A moment ago, we saw J.J. Yaley in the 46 head to the garage. He's 25th overall in a Dodge. Clint Boyer put up the quickest lap in practice early in.
And now you heard him say that they were going to go to qualifying trim, and I think maybe the track has lost a little grip because that's about a 1/10 and a half slower than what he ran right out of the truck earlier, Jeff.
Yep.
Ralph.
Well, Steve, a very demonstrative conversation going on here through the window of Joey Logano's number 20 Home Depot car. That's his crew chief, Craig Zipadelli, leaning in. And, of course, Denny Hamlin, a former winner here, leaning in as well, talking to his teammate about the best way to get around this triangle here at Pocono. Now, Joey says the exit was better that last run, but he still feels like he needs more rear grip. And Denny's over here discussing things with him. They've been communicating back and forth on the radio. So Joey, a gigantic sponge inside the car, just soaking it all in.
You know, Ralph, I talked to Joey last night. Joey actually, we were talking about his record here, which is only 2 starts last year. Joey actually won an ARCA race here. But like Joey told me, he said that the tire combination that they run on the ARCA cars, the Hoosier tire, has a ton of grip. Plus that ARCA car, the way the rules are, a lot more downforce than these Sprint Cup Series cars.
Yeah, you can work on that bad boy and make it feel a whole lot different right at the moment and talk about things being different. Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus, well, they switched over to qualifying guys, and they are now at the top of the leaderboard at a 53.95.
First car to get down in the 53-second bracket. We got about 30 minutes to go in this hour-and-a-half practice session.
And Steve, I believe we're going to see a lot of changes on our leaderboard as we go along here, because guys know now we've got to find out what we've got and give ourselves a little bit of room to work on it if it's not quite like we want it.
Jeff, you were talking about the weather here this weekend, and today looks good, just a 10% chance of rain. Tomorrow's a little different, 50% chance of showers. But what's unusual about Sunday is the high temperature that I've seen shows only 68 degrees. That's 80 here.
Yeah, you know what that means? That's going to scare the heck out of a lot of engine guys, so they're going to make a lot more horsepower. And speaking of horsepower, I think Mac has caught up with our points leader.
And Jeff, when you look at the start that the 29 team has had this year, impressive how they've carried over the fall of 09 into 2010. But I think what's more impressive is really your 2 races in Charlotte and Dover, typically a place where you guys do struggle a little bit. You guys had impressive runs.
Yeah, it's been a great month for us, and we knew going into those places that was really going to be kind of the telltale sign of where we were, and we were, you know, I felt like a top 5, top 6 car last week and ran in the top 5 at Dover, so things are looking good. We've got a good direction for race trim here. We've got a little bit of work to do, but switching over to qualifying trim, and we'll see how it goes from there.
All right, what's the biggest thing you've seen, if anything, from going from the wing to the spoiler here?
I think it's just got a little bit, you know, from a driver's standpoint, it feels like you got a little bit more to lean on than you did with the wing. So, plus you don't have to look back there and look at that thing.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Steve?
Matt, I believe he's going to see the Flyers play tonight, is he not?
Absolutely. You're still going to the Flyers tonight, aren't you?
Yeah.
Are you taking your good luck charm, your wife, Delana?
Absolutely, yeah. We got to go and make sure they win another game tonight, so hopefully they can do that. It's been fun. Wasn't a huge hockey fan in the past, but we've become good friends with Jeff Carter, and a lot of those guys are race fans, so it makes it a lot of fun.
You going to take your luggage carrier with you again?
I don't know. We might bury him in the luggage, but that'd be about it.
You know, the biggest thing about Kevin Harvick, I think it's so ironic that he's leading the Sprint Cup Series points. Kyle Busch is second. Both of those guys are second and third in the Nationwide Series points, but they've elected not to make the trip to Nashville. Kyle's only 1 point behind Brad Keselowski in the Nationwide Series.
Do one thing and one thing right.
A little qualifying run going on, I think, for Jeff Gordon here in that 24 car. Right now, he's 5th quickest. His fast lap is a 54.55, so we'll see if he can get up there in that 53-second bracket with his teammate Jimmy Johnson.
By the way, Larry, we just heard from Kyle Busch. He's just jumped up now. He is 2nd overall.
And I believe this 24 car can lay down a pretty good lap, boys. Oh yeah,
Picked up
3rd quickest.
54.26, 165.85 miles per hour here at Pocono. Stay with us. We'll be right back on Speed. Well, Monday night it all comes to this as the greatest performers go head-to-head in the Fast Track to Fame Battle of Champions. See who walks away as NASCAR's next great superstar. It's 9 Eastern only on Speed, the Fast Track to Fame Battle of Champions. Epic.
Watching Bobby Labonte here come up off of turn 3, currently 23rd. Says a little too loose in the 71 car.
Hey, Larry Mack, how was your Simon Cowell experience?
I didn't need to drive any harder than I did just because it was too loose.
I absolutely had a blast. That's the show. I was a guest judge. And Jeff was a guest judge earlier in the season, and I absolutely. It was the most.
You were on the finale?
I was.
Did you say, off you go?
You know, they told us to be nice. They said this is not American Idol. This is Fast Track to Fame. Be nice, and that's what we were. But I'm gonna tell you what. Of the 8 talents that went out there, I mean, it was absolutely unbelievable and truly very hard to pick who was the best of those 8.
Did you say you made that your own dog?
I don't know if I actually said that. But I had nice things to say about all 8 of them, and they all certainly were deserving of good remarks.
But you're not going to tell us who won?
I'm not. You're going to have to tune in.
Okay.
Can you say something nice about Regan Smith's car right now? He's 40th.
He was loose off that corner.
He was.
I'd say they got work to do. And they got a short time to do it, about 20 minutes.
That was nice.
To get some work done.
And he needs to pick up some speed. He's 40 quick right now in this practice session.
And Jeff, as you said, coming off 1, I guess it was, he about did a, as Ralph Shaheen likes to say, a tank slapper.
Oh, he just about. He's a little bit loose. It looked like that was off the tunnel turn. Yep, the tunnel turn.
Now, he did pick up speed, but he just didn't pick up that many positions to 37th quickest in his 78 car. Now, even though qualifying is 2 laps like everywhere we go with the exception of road courses, when you're in the top 35, you're not going to run that 2nd lap. I mean, we may see 1 or 2, but when you think about all the tape you need to put on the nose and the fact that it takes 53 or 54 seconds to get around here, plus you've got to get up the speed lap, you're going to run way too warm if you try to run that second lap. Plus, the tires just really give up. And I think Regan Smith's status changed, didn't it, Jeff?
Yes, he did. Matter of fact, he jumps all the way up to 8th quickest.
Jeff also pointed out a second ago that Juan Pablo jumped up to 3rd.
Sam Hornish Jr. right now is 22nd. This was a good track for Sam last year as far as finishes. Finished 10th here in June, and in a career best 4th finished in the August race.
There have been so many races this year where they have run well, but just not close. You know, he had a top 10 at Bristol. There have been, you know, just in my mind's eye, I can think about him running so well, but just not being able to finish.
But I went to his crew chief, Travis Geisler, before the 600 last week, and I said, for the love of peace, will you just please tighten the man
Put a
up?
little wedge in.
I have never seen a car so loose all the time.
Starting to see a lot of movement in as far as our leaderboard is concerned right now, guys. Jimmy Johnson still at the top, but the 00 of David Ruderman just jumped to 6th, and Michael McDowell in the 55 car, he's 13th quickest.
And he actually becomes the fastest of the go homers, just right in front of his teammate Dave Blaney. Michael is 12th or 13th. Blaney is 15th. Casey Mears in the 83 car. We talked about the crew chief and some key team member swaps. And actually, Jimmy Elledge was with Casey Mears at Ganassi Racing for about 3 seasons. And they actually got 2 poles, back-to-back poles, Indy and Pocono.
Let's see if Casey picks up. Just 38th overall, and he's run just 8 laps of practice.
I think you saw a prime example off that turn 2 about how much racetrack you use up right there. He got all there was that was left of that black asphalt.
Also want to mention that while we think about it, Jeff Bodine is here this week. He's driving Tommy Baldwin's number 36.
Who?
Jeffrey Bodine.
Okay.
61 years old.
Yep.
I thought you said Jeff.
I did.
It's Jeffrey. You'll tell me real quick. It's Jeffrey Bodine.
Casey Mears in this 83 car. I was just
7th
looking,
quick.
7th quickest.
Yep.
Right behind David Ruderman in another Toyota. But you mentioned Jeffrey Bodine at Pocono. 39 starts, 2 poles, 3 wins with 3 different owners. Rick Hendrick, Junior Johnson, and then he did it as a driver owner. The King.
King's everywhere, including the Hall of Fame. For 5 years, Tony Stewart has invited championship caliber drivers and friends to his famed Eldora Speedway for an all-star charity dirt late model race. This year, Speed will give you an exclusive countdown pre-race special, which will look at preparations for the Prelude, practice session coverage, and much, much more. Catch the Prelude to the Dream countdown show Wednesday, June 9th, 6 p.m. Eastern, only on Speed. It'll be followed at 7 p.m. with a pay-per-view special, the Gillette Fusion ProGlide Prelude to the Dream. And I just looked at my email in the commercial break. Dario Franchitti cannot go to the Dream. There was an open slot for the Indy 500 champ. However, Tony Kanaan will be there.
Oh, okay. Great.
Tony Kanaan.
This guy be here, be there. Ryan Newman now moved up to 2nd quickest in a qualifying run there.
He's been right up there in the top 5, top 10 this whole practice session as we're down to about 13 or 14 minutes to go.
Coming off a great qualifying run at Charlotte last week, sitting on the pole, so trying to back that up.
Whoa, looky there, A.J. Allmendinger.
Ooh, he's a humdinger.
He's a humdinger.
That's for you, Mike Wells.
Elliott Sadler jumps up to 11th, but his teammate A.J. Allmendinger with a 53.89 on his 18th lap.
Ellie's been fast since he came off the truck today in that number 19.
Yeah, they haven't run a lot of laps, but laps they have been productive.
Elliott will be back on our trackside show tonight with us.
With Tony Stewart and Juan Pablo Montoya.
You know what, guys? Elliott needs a little bit of luck. I think it's about time we have him turn it around.
And you know what? Coming on our trackside show as one of the hosts can certainly do that.
Yep. Turn Darrell Walters' career around.
Around where?
Which way?
Sooner or later, we're going to say something. He'll respond.
He should be finished with lunch by now, so he should be back watching.
Yeah.
Max Pappas attempting to make his first race here at Pocono, and to get him some seat time, they've actually got him over there running the ARCA series. Right now, the 3 slowest of the go-homers, we've got 45 cars here. We'll be sending 2 home. Would be Chad McCumbee in the 64, Ted Musgrave in the 7, and Max Pappas in the 13 car.
Same day coverage of the ARCA Remax Series race here tomorrow on Speed. It airs at 4 p.m. Eastern. Rick Allen, boys headed this way from Texas to call that race after tonight's Camping World Truck Series.
They're going to be busy. Going to be busy. Pappas, look at this. From about worst to first in my book, all the way up to 12th, and he was hanging around back there in about 40th. So big jump right there for that 13 car.
The big thing that makes him the fastest go-home car right now. This car did not qualify at Charlotte last week.
When I ask my crew chief buddies here, give me one big thing. When you talk about going to qualifying trim, what's one big thing here at Pocono that can help you pick up?
Fresh tires and tape on the nose.
Yep.
You know, the tape helps the nose stick. But when you talk about these long straightaways that Jeff talked about at the top of the show, I always reference tape is your best friend from aerodynamics.
But there's no free lunch.
There's no free lunch, but with tape there is, because tape helps the downforce on the nose, and it really reduces the drag on the straightaway. So most things that you do to the car, if it helps downforce, it hurts drag and vice versa, but the tape does both.
I like a good engine man as well to take a little bit, adjusting the jets and put some timing in it, baby, to make that engine run.
And don't overdrive the corner, Max, please.
Then let her eat.
You know why they say that? Because we ain't playing.
David Gilliland jumps up to 19th in that Taco Bell Ford Fusion. Russell Winrich, our stat guy extraordinaire from nearby Lehman, Pennsylvania, just handed me the qualifying worksheet. Ryan Newman will be the first of 45 drivers to qualify. Michael McDowell would be the last.
Russell, is that anywhere near where they let the groundhog out on Groundhog Day?
That's Puxatawny.
I am totally convinced watching that this year that adult beverages are heavily involved.
They get liquored up.
I think the groundhog gets liquored up.
Yeah, where he lives at, they got a possum. They don't have a groundhog.
Yeah, in Lehman, Pennsylvania.
What was that look for, Russell? Are we picking on you? Huh?
Casey Kane jumps up there in the top 10 like his teammate A.J. Allmendinger. Casey in the 9 car, 7th quickest.
Hold the phone, boys. Take a look at position number 2.
Kyle Busch in that 18 car, 53.94. So 3 cars now has been in the 53-second bracket.
Whoops. Hold the phone. There's another one. Dale Earnhardt Jr. just jumped up.
Kyle Kanapolis, North Carolina.
53.83 for Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88. So he now is atop the scoring monitor. 167.184 miles per hour.
Dale says, I'll teach you boys to talk bad about me.
Now he has a pole here. He sat on the pole back here in August of 2007.
But like I said, he's got a couple of, second place finishes.
Off the little grip patch, so had to back it up a little bit.
He lost a little bit of grip off that grip patch over here, I think off of turn 3. He had to back it up a little bit. So just maybe lay next to that corner. Good lap right there. I mean, he is definitely a lot quicker than everybody else at a 53.83.
See what David Rudiman's got. You see on the screen, 18th.
His fast lap is a 54.51. This is another team that when they finish the race, they normally are up near the front. He's got 2 consecutive top 5 finishes, Dover and Charlotte, 5 consecutive top 15 finishes, but he had those 3 DNFs in the first 8 races.
DNFs are a little bit like we talk about bonus points as he winds up coming across the line. He's 18th quickest after making that qualifying run. That's something that you can't overcome. You know what I'm saying, Steve? You've got to eliminate the DNFs. You can have some bad finishes, but DNFs, I mean, they are the ultimate kiss of death.
Takes 1 week to lose all those points, and it can take you 2 months to get them back.
Guys, I'm looking at the timing and scoring monitor. I'm still amazed. A track as big as this, we have 34 drivers in the 54-second category.
Because honestly, this is real close to what you'd see at a road course. I mean, just because it's such a big racetrack and every corner's different, every straightaway's different. But Matt Yoakum, how about the man that took all the money from Charlotte Motor Speedway?
Well, it's still a work in progress, Larry Mack, on the Blue Deuce. Now, Kurt told me that of the 3 turns here at Pocono, the one that gives him most difficulty with this new car because of the bumps is turn 1. And he said to his team after this qualifying mock run, he said, I completely missed turn 1, and it's really bouncing hard. They're going to make a front shock change and also make a shock change on the rear, the left rear as well here on the 2, and possibly even a spring change, trying to beat the clock to get in at least another run or so before time runs out of this practice session.
And Matt, it looks like they did make that spring change right there, trying to get out there. And just a few minutes to go in this practice session.
Larry Mack just got an email about Patrick Shelton Motorsports. Elliott Sadler in the 19 car getting around this Pocono Raceway. So we take a look at the rest of our menu. 3 o'clock, NASCAR Live. John Roberts has that. We'll be back for Sprint Cup qualifying. Trackside at 6:30 Eastern. Tony Stewart and Juan Pablo Montoya. Then, of course, Chris Devoto with a setup at 8:30 from the Texas Motor Speedway in the Camping World Truck Series. Ralph has an update on Kyle Busch.
Well, this has not been a great racetrack for Kyle Busch in previous seasons, but the quote on the radio just before he finished his last run was good, 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 good. He is really happy with the number 18 car right now. It was so good, he's 4th on the chart.
Thanks, Ralph. Juan Pablo Montoya just jumped up to 2nd. Denny Hamlin is 3rd. Jimmy Johnson of the quickest at a 53.58.
Here's a nugget for you.
Love nuggets.
You love nuggets. All right, we talked about Kurt Busch taking all the money out of Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Yep.
In those 2 weeks, All-Star and Coke 600, he won $1,478,000. Now, Richard Petty, I know maybe it's all in perspective. It's all about this day and time. Did 1,185 starts. As we well know, he won 200 races. His career winnings was $8 million and a little over $500,000. So in other words, in 2 weeks, Kurt Busch made roughly 1/6 of what Richard Petty's career earnings were for those 1,185 starts.
So the Kings' grand total was $8 million.
Just a little over $8 million.
Wow.
About $8.5 million is what it was.
Well, right now, I think Kurt Busch is thinking about how can I add to that total so I can, close up on the King, Richard Petty. Going off here in turn 1. There he is. As Richard will tell you, he and I talked after the Hall of Fame event, and he was patting me on the back. I said, man, I really appreciate what you've done for me and what you've done for our sport. He said, hey, it's all of us working together, brother. It's all of us working together. Today, he still has the same mentality that he did at the very beginning. As far as when he's out there, he's trying to make things better for all of us and for all of our fans every day.
According to the pre-race show from last week, he was your childhood sweetheart.
That's it. Exactly right. You caught that, didn't you?
We did.
Yep, he was my childhood hero and a come-out sweetheart. Well, it could have been worse. It could have been Darrell Waltrip.
We knew what you meant.
Yeah.
Well, practice is over here at Pocono. Remember to join us at 3:30.
Kurt went to 10th.
Qualifying.